And good morning, my friends. It is Happy Hump Day. Look at Real Rockin' Robin. She says, Happy Hump Day. Brooks, Mods, and Chat. Okay, OJ, the show just started. I don't need your bullshit right now, OJ. Hey, Stillwaters. Shannon Pisces, what's up? True Crime Beat made it in. Our girl Slim Shady, Insanity Mom. Snow. Hey, girlfriend. Hey, Dark. Wow. As you know, yesterday I had my ass handed to me, or people tried to, a few. I did not get the memo that I'm not allowed to use the internet and give an opinion. Where have I been all this time? I didn't know. I had no idea. Oh, Jinbug! What the hell? Jinbug say, hey everyone, it's been a minute. Happy Hump Day. Thank goodness Jinbug made it in. Yeah, no one told me. Angel's back. No one told me that I can't give an honest opinion about what I think's going on about something. But we're going to talk about that in the members live. Because we don't see eye to eye about a certain person in a certain case doesn't mean we're not friends. I didn't know. But I have some special treats for you guys today. You're going to really enjoy this. First, you know the routine. You know what today is. We are halfway to the weekend. And you know what that means.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, it's not just Hump Day. Our girl Phil, who I have missed very much, gifted 10 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. If you received a membership, you know who to thank. You better believe it. Also, did you guys see the new badges? Look at that. Let me see who got what. Chloe is a gnome. Katie is a gnome. Connie's a patriotic gnome. Oh, good. Mermaid's a gnome. For people who have been here, well, forever and a day, you have OJ. It's not just Hump Day. A little gnome told me that today is Stillwater's birthday. Can you believe it? Have I been lied to? I don't think so. Let's take a second and tell our wonderful friend, Stillwaters, always keeps us hopping, always keeps us on our toes. A very happy birthday. Happy birthday, my wonderful friend, and I hope it is spectacular. I hope you celebrate the entire month. That's what I do in June anyway, when it's my birthday, which I think I'm going to sell my birthday to Mermaid. I don't want to have any more birthdays. I'm going to be 49 next month. So I think I'm just going to sell my birthday to Mermaid. Mermaid, how much would you pay me for my birthday? It's June 12th. We can do layaway. We can do Rent-A-Center style. You just let me know. Mermaid said, no, I don't even want mine. Even on clearance, Mermaid? Son of a bitch. Well, looks like I'm going to be 49. All right, you know, on Wednesdays, we wear pink or some form of it. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. Yes, we do. Our good friend Kat, one of my BFFs, she drives pink. Just saying. She got a new car. Marisay said, Brooks, your name was on a lot of lips on the YouTube streets. Let me tell you, you had a whole bunch of your CLL jump up and down for you. We love you. Well, I love you too. Thank you so much. Again, I check my mail every day. Never got anything saying that I cannot express an opinion on the internet. I guess I better recheck it. Hang on. I just had a coughing fit because I was taking a drink of coffee and I sucked it down the wrong goddamn pipe. Damn it. All right. Oh, yeah, I'll be fine. So, as you know, we wear pink on Wednesdays. Here is one of our shirts. Ignore the model. That's the shirt. If you would like to purchase it. A low quality item for high quality prices. You know where to get a hold of me. Thank you, Maria. 12 months here since yesterday. So happy. I'm happy too, Maria. So there's one of the shirts. We've been called Tragedy Pimps. So as you can see on the screen, here's another shirt. Look at that. I've got to get Kat to dress this up and make the chains gold. Okay. And yesterday I was accused of clout chasing. Today only, my friends, can you get this shirt for $9.99? Are you ready? Can someone do a drum roll? Here it is. Clout chasing. Clout chasing. I can do this on a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a wife beater, a hoodie. Clout chasing. And I can also remove my face. Woo! I can do it on a grocery bag. You name it. You name it. Clout chasing. Clout, baby. Look at that. Phil's got clout. Look at that. Phil 413. Clout, baby. Clout. We got it. Woo, what to do? My goodness. Some people step in shit and come out smelling like roses. Some people can water the roses and come out smelling like shit. She's got 2 thumbs and red hair. And like Dark said, clout chasing mama. You bet. All right, let's get to the show. First, I'm going to go through your comments from the last show we did about Mica Miller. Barbara Ann said, don't walk out. Run away from Satan's son. This is so important for everyone. I mean, my goodness, the most dangerous time to leave is when you're leaving. When you have plans in place, it needs to be ironclad to get the hell away and don't turn back. Uh-oh. Jules with True Crime Reactions. Matter of fact, my friend, I'm going to be sending you a text after this show. Someone called Brooks a clout-chasing lesbian. Laughing my ass off, what? Yeah, I know. I don't dip down to the South unless it's got a pogo stick attached to it and its name is Greg, but hey, whatever you want to call me. Works for me. All right. Maria Sullivan said, do they know the husband's location when this happened? I think she probably keyed herself, but it was due to his manipulation and psychological abuse. I agree 100% with Maria O'Sullivan. No woman that has an upcoming hair appointment, just paid all the bills, and is talking to a new dude and has filed for divorce is going to do what she did. There is something else going on here. As far as his location, he was not anywhere near her. He did not murder her or anything like that, but there's plenty of other things going on. Arlene said, I truly believe that the preacher is behind Mica's death. There is a fisherman who heard Mica crying before the shot went off and doesn't believe it was S at all. Well, it's been proven otherwise, and I was thinking that as well. She tried to divorce him twice. Twice. Now the FBI is involved. Okay, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with the United States Attorney's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in South Carolina since the early stages of the Mica Miller investigation. Based on the information gathered during the investigation and the jurisdiction reasons, of course, North Carolina and South Carolina, the Sheriff's Office has requested the assistance of both agencies. No other information will be released at this time. However, anyone with information pertaining to the investigation is asked to contact the Columbia, South Carolina FBI office at 803-551-4200. We know that Mica died by S on April 27th at the Lumber River State Park in Robeson County. Last week, the Sheriff's Office released the 911 call security footage and a timeline of events that detailed the day she died. I have something to say about this. Her family is definitely pointing the finger his way. His way. We know he shared nudes of hers. He had her taking certain medications so she could keep up with his sex drive. We know that their age difference was inappropriate considering when they met. I'm going to get my ass handed to me again, but I'm telling you something right now. No grown man needs to be hanging out with a teenage girl. Sorry. Unless you're paid a tenner to watch the kids until mom gets home from grocery shopping, you don't get to be friends with them. No. It's inappropriate and it's disgusting. It's called grooming. Also, the FBI being involved, I think, is a two-part deal. I think, yes, they're going to get to the bottom of her death. 100%. What got her out there? What was she taking? Had she been manipulated into it? I don't know. So they're definitely going to be looking at that. But I'm telling you something right now, it happens every time with these dirty ass preachers. When the FBI gets involved, it's because they're looking at the church finances. Yes, my friends, they are going to go through every dollar and damn cent in that church. I'm surprised old Osteen hasn't gotten it yet. IRS isn't going to deal with it because churches don't pay taxes. But they're going to find some embezzlement, fraud, accounts that are interest bearing. They're going to find a lot of things. And that's what they're really looking for, because he's a dirty dog. Could you imagine sitting in church and you got that bobble-headed freak up there with these little cherry picker mics sticking out of his face, looking at the congregation saying, I'm going to find me a hot woman that loves Jesus. Then here comes the music. Here comes the music. What a friend we have in Jesus. But he wants everyone to not say Jesus. He wants them to say, what a friend we have in JP. What are you doing pissing off Jesus? That's Jesus's song. Why you want to take Jesus out and put your name in? Could you imagine if I came in here one day, I get enough trouble as it is, and said, don't sing What a Friend We Have in Jesus, sing What a Friend We Have in Brooksy, or What a Friend We Have in OJ, or What a Friend We Have in Mermaid. And he was doing all this the whole time he had another girl on the leash. Lucky Shot, welcome to the family. Look at that. Lucky Shot's a new YouTube member. Jules said, and her father should have never let it start. Church is the excuse. I don't know about you all, but if some 20-something is messing around with my 13 or 14-year-old child, that shit would be done real quick. Real quick. Well, look at that, Tennessee DJ. Woo! Got all kinds of new friends. Well, you're going to love the next member show, so make sure you stick around. All right. Daily Mail released this. And actually, it was clipped on Conspiracy. So sub up there. This is her first marriage. And What a Friend We Have in JP is officiating. Now, I do think there's a little something shady going on with the death of her first husband, but I'm going to hold off on that for a little while. I think I've put myself in enough hot water. And yes, Conspiracy does a great job.
Have been released of Mica Miller's first marriage.
Woo! To me, this whole marriage was set up, and JP, Bubblehead, He's been pulling the strings for years. For years. Because the life insurance that Mica received from her first husband, and yeah, they were both cheating. They were swinging those privates around higher than a cat's ass. Like Jules of True Crime Reaction said, how strange the groomer marries off his prey. There was a reason for it. When her first husband died accidentally, the life insurance check was not cashed by Mica. It was endorsed, and the second signature was to his church. We got a problem here. Why would the church need the life insurance money more than the one left behind? And hang on. By the way, those are some rude looking decorations. I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you all. I go to weddings like this. I'm glad I kept the receipt for the gift. When I see shit like this, seriously, cargo pants and teal shirts. I've got a better arch than that in my backyard. This is cultish. This is Daybell 2.0.
Oh, look! Oh, you make me cry and I gotta go to work.
I know, Tana, we shouldn't have to go to work.
Oh, so pretty.
Oh my goodness, where is my phone at? Looks stunning.
Elaine, you gotta help me get this
Yes,
on.
ma'am.
Mica's pastor husband, John Paul Miller, officiated her first wedding to Jeremy Dees in 2012 when she was just 18. These photos show John Paul Miller officiating Mica's first wedding to her long-term boyfriend, with sources claiming that this fling with the teen bride had started before the nuptials. Sources close to Mica's ex-husband, Jeremy, who filed on the grounds that the marriage was, quote, forever broken, told the DailyMail.com that Miller was methodical in his betrayal of his wife and best friend. Mica and Jeremy would spend a lot of time at Miller's house with Allie and JP, that's JP's ex-wife, rehearsing the music for the church, a source said. The affair allegedly came to light after Miller and Mica were caught in a sexual act in 2015. According to the DailyMail.com, JP's first wife, Allison, filed for divorce against him in 2015 after discovering he was having an affair with Mica, who also babysat their 4 children. Allison said, his marital misconduct not only destroyed my marriage, but also caused me to lose my church, family, and income, along with severely damaging the relationship between the defendant and our children. Now, Allison has recently started speaking out as well, and we are going to cover that in a separate video. I just wanted to show you the videos from Mica's first marriage where John Paul Miller was officiating.
Sick. Sick. It's dark. Dark. Grit said you are wrong. Mica's first husband was JP's best friend. JP cheated on Mica with Susie. And her husband was in the wheelchair, not Mica's husband. See, this is the reason I shouldn't open my damn mouth. For real. What I want to know, Snazzy's here to save me. Never knew Mica's first husband died. That's what I read. I believe everything I read on the internet. I know Susie's, JP's current girlfriend, first husband, is a paraplegic and died in a pool. So is it Susie that signed the life insurance over? or is it Mica? Thank you, Snazzy, for setting me straight. Either or, it's sick, but it obviously is important. Thank you. Thank you for setting me straight. Damn, I don't need this 2 days in a row. My God. Okay. So it would have been Susie that signed over the life insurance. I don't know about you all, but who would sign over? We hear about people, as they get older, and they will do some irresponsible things with their finances. Either they let their adult children drain them, or they will do things like sign their house over to the church, donate a car to the church. But these are much younger people. So life insurance is life insurance for a reason. You have to go on with your life when your spouse passes away. Grit 79, Susie signed her insurance over to the church as she still has been active there and been cheating with JP the entire time. Thank you, Grits. Okay. Thank you. Look, I can tell you some right now, y'all. I have no problem being wrong. I just need to know. I had all that shit twisted. This case is confusing the hell out of me. Phew. But who would sign life insurance over to the church? So all that time off work, funeral expenses, replacing an income out of your home, you're just going to piss that away? It's creepy. It is creepy. I need a whiteboard. All right, here they discussed some of the documents that detail how Mica Miller died. And it is a trigger warning.
Miller was the wife of a Myrtle Beach pastor. She died at the end of April at Lumber State Park in Robeson County, and it's rattled the Myrtle Beach community and nation. We just received multiple documents from the Robeson County Sheriff's Office providing a better idea of how she passed. Video from a Ring camera show Mica leaving her home around 11:38 on April 27th. She then drove to Dick's Pawn Shop on Mr. Joe White Avenue in Myrtle Beach just before 12:15. Deputies say she was instantly approved to buy a gun and ammunition. At that point, Mica drives to 41 Grocery and Grill in Mullins, where she bought gas and a drink. From there, she drives 32 miles to the Lumber River State Park in Robeson County, where she calls 911. We have part of that phone call.
Why would she get gas in a drink? I've obviously never committed S because I'm here. I can honestly say I've never been in this frame of mind. She paid the bills, made an appointment to get her hair done, which she didn't make it to that appointment. Safe to say she was talking to another dude. I mean, it's not like she had to worry about getting back home if she's planning on doing this. I wish she would have changed her mind. That's just odd to me. If you're in that frame of mind, why pay the bills? I'd stick him with the bills. It's not like Discover Card's going to call you in the afterlife.
And we do want to warn you, if the topic of suicide is difficult for you, you may want to silence the audio.
Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
A fisherman told officers he heard crying followed by a gunshot. A call came into 911 saying a kayaker found a body in the water. The body was later identified as Miller. If you or someone you love is struggling with depression or going through a mental health crisis, you're urged to call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. We have the number for you right there on your screen. Again, it's 988. We also have it under this article on WPDE.com.
Look, just because JP wasn't in North Carolina doesn't mean he doesn't have a far reach. Again, I'm not accusing. There's no alcohol in her system. Why was there more than one casing? I don't know. We have a lot to go through. This is what her sister says. She was brainwashed. Brainwashed.
There are some questions about that. In fact, we were going to try to start seeking a civil action attorney to consult with to see if some of the documents that we have found, or not found, but that Mica left in my care, as well as her family also had found, there seems to me that there could be a civil action, not against the police. The police, under the circumstances, responded, I think, appropriately under what was happening at the time. But there are other things that happened that are related to this church.
I agree with her sister. There's more going on at the church than just singing What a Friend We Have in JP. Now, I think about the case in Kentucky with Crystal Rogers. Vanished, gone. They know she's dead. They just can't find her body. She was making preparations to get away. She had many, many documents to what the Houck family was doing. So for Mica to make sure that trusted people have whatever documents she had, again, it's not making sense to me. It's not making sense. Snow said, is there a DA? There's always a DA assigned. When there's an open investigation, particularly with the Attorney General's office and the FBI, there's always a DA assigned. Prosecuting attorney, there's always going to be someone overseeing it. Absolutely. Jules said they have all these documents after he went on a rampage getting rid of stuff. Can't imagine how much there was before. That's what I'm saying. How much was there before?
She was employed there. There's a question about whether she was appropriately paid for her time. She was the church itself was used by John Paul. I have letters that he wrote on church stationery to her, basically disparaging her. He went after everything that meant anything to this young woman. And I want to go back to the question about, what else this could have been if he didn't actually pull the trigger. This man, in my opinion, based on the documents, my conversations with Mica whenever she was alive, tell me that she was brainwashed by this man. He abused her in every possible way that there is. Financially, he abused her by taking away things, phones, access to money, took away her car, those types of things to try to gain control of her. Every time she tried to leave him, he would harass and stalk her to the point that she just felt like she had to give up and go back.
You know, talk about manipulation, talk about bullying, control. Every time she was getting out of his good graces, if you know what I mean. Take her car, take her money. She had to depend on him. So it would just break her to the point where she'd go back to him. Remember, he had her taking medication to keep up with his sex drive. He was sharing nude pictures of her. Some of these pictures are not just her in a bathing suit or topless. It's almost bondage. Degrading sexual behavior. Not normal intimacy between two people. Degrading.
And he abused her not only emotionally, financially, he abused her religiously in terms of her religion and her relationship with God. He demeaned her in every aspect that he could. There is a video of a sermon of him that I was just so taken aback, and my jaw hit the ground because I felt like I had come across the answer of maybe why she would have taken it this far. And that is, he had her convinced that this was what she should do. In my opinion, I believe he had her convinced that it would be the only way that she could escape him to some degree. I believe that he had her convinced all the way. I believe that he used every tactic and tool that he could. The mounds of paperwork that I have is incredible. She collected a lot of things. She kept a notebook. I have boxes of journals, which, by the way, he's made 100 phone calls looking for, as I understand. And he is constantly trying to stay in front of this, spin some some story. And I think we have enough here that...
With that evidence, I'm curious. I'm sorry to jump in, Regina, but Sierra, do you think you can shed some light on why your sister told the police that John Paul had been grooming her since the age of 10, but that her, her involvement with the church only began at age 14 in a youth program? Do you know what the difference is between those two claims?
If I had to assume, I would guess that she probably meant 2010, not 10. Since 2010 would be a better estimate of what she might have meant.
Yeah, I don't think that she ever said age 14. 10 years old.
No, she's consistently said around 14, 15 years old. I've never heard her ever say 10 years old.
Okay, Beigefield has her O face on. 14, 15 is not old enough to make these decisions. I hate the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, but in this case, it has to be said. Can't say anything about her siblings, but her parents should have stopped this. Some of these churches are, kind of what we see on the internet. Hell, most of them are on the internet. They're a mob mentality. You can have a one-on-one discussion with anyone, and you'll have, like a meeting of the minds. You may not agree. You may not agree. But you're going to be cool about it. You're going to be civil. A group of people is totally different. Particularly when you go against what a lot of them are thinking. And I'm getting really sick of these damn churches. Thank goodness mine's not this way. That are changing the Bible to fit with what the current culture is doing. It doesn't work that way. The scripture is the scripture. What is wrong is wrong. What is right is right. We don't get to cherry pick for politics or any sort of deviancy. It doesn't work that way. The preacher should not be twisting the scriptures to get you to vote the way preacher man's voting. And this deviant preacher man, he had it in her mind, leaving him is walking away from God. Boy, his daddy taught him well. His daddy taught him well. My granny used to say, when you go to church, when you read the Bible, it's a key to fixing yourself, not fixing everyone else. It's not how it works. I'm sure we've all been to church and you see those biddies that are standing around and they're like, I can't believe she comes to church considering how she acts. I can't believe she even showed her face in church considering what we know about her family. Doesn't work that way. It's about yourself. Thank you so much, Angel P, for gifting the Crime Lines and Lies memberships. If you received a membership from our wonderful friend Angel P, tell her thank you. Tell her thank you. All right. The man who found Mica. Can you just imagine the PTSD he is going through? Now, I do not agree with any true crime creator, which, I hate the word creator, trying to find this man and talk to him. I have a feeling he's got a lot going through his mind right now. It's not every day that we go for a recreational afternoon and come across a dead body. Okay? It doesn't work that way. Also, with the FBI and the Attorney General's office involved, they might have other questions for him. So no, he doesn't need to be on any panel talking about what he saw that day. We got it. We got it. We understand.
Has ruled Mica Miller's death a suicide. In a News 13 exclusive, Tamika Jackson went to Lumber River State Park, where she spoke with a man who witnessed and heard her final moments.
This is the exact place Johnny Jacobs says he placed the personal items of Mica Miller when he found them, right down this river on a small bank. Jacobs says this is his version of what he saw and heard on that day. He says many people have since attacked him on social media, and he says, in talking to News 13, this is his way of setting the record straight.
He needs to be left alone. He did the right thing. He reported what he saw. No, he did not come across her body. He did the right thing. I don't know why people are trying to lump him into this. He's very important for this investigation, whichever way it goes.
Had her license, her bank card. She had her keys in the bag. She had a little small Bible, all of her credit cards, her bank cards, and a few receipts of some things.
Johnny Jacobs says he retrieved the items from her black fanny pack here at the Lumber River State Park, the park where authorities say she took her own life. On the same day officials announced the details of her death, the family of Mica Miller, accompanied by a park ranger, ventured into the restricted area where Mica was tragically found, now seared into their memories in a silent tribute. Johnny Jacobs says he remembers hearing cries around that same area, and after hearing a single gunshot, the cry stopped.
Put in there with my little boat, and
Now, some people are saying this dude isn't for real. Some people are saying if you hear a gunshot, you're hearing crying, you would take a different plan of action as opposed to what he did. And yes, Shelley, he found her items, not her body. I mean, if he took off with her stuff and was swiping her cards and stole her car, that would be a different story. If you hear one gunshot, then why are we hearing reports of multiple casings? See, there's way more to this.
maybe 5 minutes after getting into the slough, I heard a cry, a faint cry. Heard it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and the crying stopped.
Jacob says he was unable to see Miller at the time, but if she had been visible, he would have tried to help.
He was out. If it would have been a person out there crying in the opening where I could see him, I'd have checked on him all day long. But yes, I mean, I just wished I could have went in there and checked on him.
And as millions across the country continue to mourn this tragic death, Jacob says that it's his faith that will get him through.
I'm just going to have faith in the Lord, get me through this, because it's changed my life, actually.
Now, News 13 doesn't typically report on suicides, but we started looking into the death of Mica Miller due to the enormous amount of attention and discussion created in our community. If you or someone you know is struggling with a mental health crisis and thinking about suicide, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by dialing 988 or visiting 988lifeline.org.
It doesn't make sense, but there's no reason to bother this man, reach out to this man, friend him on Facebook. Let the FBI take care of it. Let the FBI take care of it. I'm going to drop the link, see if anybody wants to go up. I can just say for myself, I'm too much of a scaredy cat to go searching around. I'm more of a 911 type of gal. So if I heard crying, I know the difference between an animal's and someone crying. And then I hear a gunshot. I would call 911. Backstage, we have our wonderful friend, Jules with True Crime Reactions. You guys put your hands together. Jules, my girl, thank you for coming up. Is this not a weird case?
Yeah, no, it's really, really weird. It's had my attention for a while. I was talking about it with Grizzly on Twitter before I ever did a video on it, 'cause it was just so much. And there's just still something about it. And like there's way more to this. And I think it's gonna go deep down. Like, I've been comparing it to the Daybell Vallow situation just because I feel like this is the part in the Daybell Vallow story where like all of the spouses die, because we know that that's part of their story before it then blew up. And then now he's with this little blonde girl, and I'm like, oh, there she is. There's Vallow. There she is. So yeah, this whole thing is just very strange.
Beyond. And I'm trying to give some credence to, the dude by the creek in the park. But there's so many players in this church
Yeah.
and too many people that wanted Mica to go away. She was a threat to their establishment.
Yeah, there's a lot, I think, when it comes to money. Conspiracy also had talked about one of the documents that came out, and there is a channel on Twitter that posts them all. I've been needing to go back and find this very specific one because it's talking about like it's like a report from the church about money being missing out of a Kenya fund. And that was one of the things that JP and Micah talked about. Like that was like the thing is like the missions that they would go over there. That was like her thing that she like loved to do, right? Well, it's talking about how it's like a female ex-employee that's responsible for taking the money according to the church or whatever. And I'm just thinking like this is in here for a reason. And now we know that the feds are involved and stuff. I just don't know if they're really investigating her death yet. I think it's probably going to end up being part of it. But I feel like they were looking into the church before this happened to Mica. Like, I feel like it was part of a buildup that she was very aware of the situation.
Well, and it's telling to me that there were so many posts about this orphanage in Africa. Yet you have people saying that there's really no orphanage. Now, obviously, I don't know. I don't go to that church. Because when the FBI is involved with the church, you're looking at embezzlement, money laundering. You're looking at money issues.
Well, I mean, not just that. At this point, we have them being totally okay with, people who do things with children. As a congregation, they're okay with it. So that's going to be something else. Because in the reports, it's not just like one girl that the congregation found out from his ex-wife that he was messing with. The ex-wife is telling the family and telling News Nation and telling everyone that she told the entire congregation, and he admitted to girls under the age of 16. That is more than one, meaning more than Mica, meaning more than one at the same time. And it's not just him. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more.
And it skeeves me out to no end.
Yeah.
When grown men are messing around with teenage girls. There's nothing about that. And every one of them, 9 times out of 10, have already been victimized in some other way.
Yeah, they use their vulnerability against them.
They don't pick the girl from a good home who's got cheerleading practice. They might salivate over them or something, but that's
I'm
not
glad you're saying that. Yeah, I'm actually really glad you're saying that because I have a lot of questions. I don't care for this dude on this. I don't know if the other people like on YouTube can see that you have her dad up here. I don't know how I feel about this guy, but I know that I don't like him. And I'm not going to apologize for that. Just like I don't apologize for the questions I have for the Consalvis family. I don't like this guy. There is a reason why something wasn't done. Like he's sitting here on News Nation saying, oh yeah, there were signs that something was going on. I remember her behavioral changes and da-da-da-da. And he's got all these various things.
It's called money.
Yeah.
It's called
money. And the church being like a brainwashing mechanism machine. Like it's a horrible disease. But he picked Mica for what? What was going on in the home? To where Mica was the vulnerable one and not one of the other sisters. That's why I think there was probably something going on. And he used that to his advantage in order to get her away from that situation, because you know how groomers do. That's what they do. They want to pretend to be the protector. And so there had to have been something going on. So whatever was going on in that home, this father knows. He knows where this started, and he knows where the responsibility really lies. If he knows if he allowed it and didn't stop it. Even as an adult, I understand as an adult when she married this man, there's really nothing he could have done. But you know damn well, as the back of your own brain, that you're responsible for what's about to happen here, and you still do nothing for almost 20 years now, 15 years, nothing allowed it. Why? What's the secret being kept that's allowed it to continue?
It's the church in Myrtle Beach.
No, I'm talking about with her family. What was going on in her family that he was able to use that as a way to get her out of there without them fighting him? Without them being like, hold on, I'm calling the cops because this grown-ass man is trying to groom my teenage daughter into leaving my home. There's something wrong here. Why was that never reported? What was happening?
I think it's money. I think it's church influence. I think they really thought I don't know. I just think it's disgusting.
It is. It's all gross all the way around.
I don't have a daughter. Okay. I don't have a daughter. I have 3 sons. And when they were, 12, 13, 14, if some 24, 25-year-old woman suddenly took a shining to them, I'd say, no.
Yeah.
No. You're on 2 totally different wavelengths.
Mm-hmm. It's gross.
It is gross.
And it's not like he was just trying to just like talk to her. According to the sisters, he was texting her constantly. Constantly.
Oh, he
as
was
a teenager. Why are you blowing up a teenage girl's phone as a grown-ass man with a wife and children? That's disgusting.
Well, let's see what he says. Let's go through it.
Protection. She told me days beforehand, Dad, I really feel like I need a weapon for protection. And she knows how to use it.
A South Carolina church pastor is facing serious scrutiny after his wife's sudden death in a nearby state park. And as new details come to life about her final days, her husband is getting more and more attention. We're joined by Michael Francis, Mica's father, and
I want to make something clear. People don't know you're in an abusive relationship until you tell them. And you can't just bitch about old boy on the couch or old girl in the kitchen. You have to give more detail than that. You don't call the police and say this is the issue and not give them all the information because they can't help you. People can't help you without the information. So the abusive relationship, I'm not going to blame her family for, because it seems to me it was just kind of peppered in there. However,
have you seen the recent stuff from her sister though? Like where he's going to her house with a gun and threatening the sister that he's going to come armed and stuff. Like all of them knew how horrible it was, and they've known since she was 15. And that's all I see people disagreeing with me. That's fine. I'm totally used to having an oppositional opinion, but that's my opinion from seeing it. And I mean, like, I've dealt with abuse. I was abused as a child. I was abused as a wife. I mean, I've gone through it. I know, but I know everyone's situation is different. I just feel like there was something going on in her home as a teenager when they moved to that area that he must have caught on to by getting close to her, that he was able to use as leverage to get closer to her while the family couldn't fight it because there was something else going on there. I just feel like there was something else happening that allowed her to be the target without the parents fighting off this person that was doing wrong. I don't know if I'm making it make sense.
No, you're making
okay. Like there was some sort of bad something happening in that house that he was able to use. And that's why they didn't fight him whenever they should have to stop this whenever she was a teenager and they could have done something. That's what I mean.
It would have been much easier to take care of this situation when she's under your roof and she's a young girl.
That's what I meant. Yeah. I feel like there's a reason why they just chose not to. And that's bothersome to me, especially now whenever everyone is like, oh, well, now they deserve to sue him for wrongful death. Okay, but if y'all didn't do anything as parents whenever she was a child, I don't agree with them gaining from her death monetarily either. That's a huge issue for me.
Well, and the thing is, if they have known about all this abuse and it has gone on since she was living under their roof as a teenager, the discovery process is not going to serve them well.
It won't.
It won't. And we've seen it in so many other civil cases. You can't come to court with dirty hands unless you're a criminal.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're looking for monetary damages. We all have a responsibility to protect our own.
And it's just like in the end, it's really the victim.
To talk about the young woman's passing and where legal action might take them in the future. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey, everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. Google Incognito tracked users' browsing data without their knowledge while mass torture.
You're at a national park.
Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay?
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but she doesn't look like anyone in the family to me. Obviously, you can tell sister, gets her roots done, I'll put it that way, but she doesn't have the same facial features or anything.
I think they favor each other.
Oh, okay.
Enough. Yeah, they have like the same shaped face. Like, actually, it's kind of creepy to me how much her other sister, the one with the more chunkier face, how much she looks like his ex-wife. Like, it's really creepy. They look almost identical.
It's all in the damn family, I can tell you.
It's really strange.
Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
We've now learned that the Robeson County Sheriff's Office is requesting that the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI investigate Mica's death. Whether the FBI is actually involved yet kind of remains unclear. It may be more of a jurisdictional issue about why they could be involved because of where she died on a state park out in North Carolina. But as I mentioned, Mica's family appears to be suspicious of all of this. And one of the things to note is that John Paul does have a criminal record. Research indicates that in 1998, Miller entered a no contest plea in Horry County, South Carolina, to a charge of assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature, meaning that Miller did great bodily injury to someone or likely was going to injure someone. He was given 500 hours of community service, was put on probation for several years, and a 4-year prison sentence was suspended. In 2022, South Carolina court records indicate that Miller was pardoned. In 2000, out in Illinois, he apparently pled guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. In 2004, out in Illinois, it appears that Miller was charged with domestic battery, but the prosecutors seemed to decline to move forward with the case and were unable to find sentencing information for that case. Now, in one of her final posts on Facebook, Mica uploaded a selfie, and she uploaded the selfie with the caption, "When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, you all know what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face." She included the hashtags still blessed and God is good. She's also been posting videos on her social media talking about leaving abusive situations.
It doesn't matter what gender you are, abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain.
According to a friend, Mica had left for a different church.
She also mentioned on some of her Facebook videos about sexual issues. I know several people are saying that the dispatcher with 911 was really, really dry. I did see something on our local news the other day. They were talking about our 911 call center. And they actually have a training where they have to stay as calm and dry as possible. Hence why I never worked there. Let's do an exercise. Jules, you pretend like you're calling 911 with an emergency, and I'll be the dispatcher.
Okay. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, 911. I need a fire truck right now. My kitchen just caught on fire.
What the fuck? What'd you do? What were you cooking?
Fried chicken.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be exactly how you...
Girl, I'll be in a minute. Get the hell out of there. You're going to die.
Forget the flour and run. Yeah.
You're going to die. Okay, so you have to have certain training to be a dispatcher. They would never let me do it. No way.
Church other than Solid Rock. John Paul gave an interesting, perhaps the best word to describe it is an arguably strange eulogy, different eulogy at the Solid Rock Church, while family members held a different memorial service at the beach.
She'd get tourists to take our picture, and I say, okay, thank you. She said, oh no, this isn't good. Give it back to them, and they do it again, you know. But she told me that she was so creative. Everything she did was so creative. What's the next picture? What's the next picture? She'd stop. We'd be on the way to like a show or something. She said, stop, I gotta get a picture. I said, we're gonna be late. She said, I don't care. What's the next picture? Next picture.
John Paul also said that he wanted so badly for her to be alive that he repeatedly tried to see her body and even tried to raise her from the dead. There were reports that Reverend Charles.
Okay, now we're going to pretend that we're both at church, Jules.
Oh gosh, I'm out of practice, bro.
I don't even know how to do this one. And you're mourning the loss of a woman, and you see JP, which from what I understand, somebody's phone means just porn, up there saying, I tried to raise her from the dead.
Yeah, that's scary. He makes me want to throw up, and he's scary at the same time. Like, I want to know what that means. Like, what exactly does that mean? What did you do, JP? What did you do to her body itself is what I want to know.
He wanted to lay hands on her dead body and bring her back from the dead. She didn't want your hands on her live body.
See, and that's another thing that's bothering me with all of this. This is what's bothering me with all of this. They know this. Like, the congregation knew that they were getting a divorce. The entire world at this point knows. She gave him, he was served with divorce papers 2 days before this happened. Okay. They know damn well that she wanted away from this man. Yet they're allowing him up on stage to speak at her funeral and to cry about her and all these things. Whenever all these people knew he was sleeping with another woman and was probably in her bed the night before he got up and started this fake crying boo-boo on this stage. And they're just allowing this crap. That's a slap in her face. They are disrespecting her into the grave. It's disgusting. And then they're going to sit there and go and pray to their God. I don't understand. This is the type of stuff I have like problems with when it comes to religion. I know they're not all like this. I know. But these are the types of examples that really taint a lot of good that could come from that type of belief. But this is what it also does to people, is it brainwashes them into thinking that this kind of gross, disgusting thing is normal because they are agreeing to this as a mass congregation.
A mass mob mentality is what it is.
Yes, it's disgusting.
We have one idea, we have one opinion, and we can't look the other way. If not, we're all going to pounce the one that is going against the grain, and that one is Mica.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that knew something bad was going on. She's the one that wanted away from him. She's the one that wanted out of all of it. And that's what it is. We see it in our chats. You have a different opinion than someone else, pounce, 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 pounce.
Mm-hmm.
And hell, if they don't get the good of you that day, they'll recruit other people to come after you.
Yeah. And that's why I don't really put anything past the situation with her. Like, I understand we hear her voice and stuff on the phone, but we don't really know what she really went and got that weapon for, why she changed her clothes. I mean, why are you stopping and putting gas in your car? How much gas? Like, did she fill up her car with the intention of making it all the way back to her apartment? Or did she, like, run her car to empty and only put it enough to get where she was actually going to the park? Why get something to drink if you're just going to do something crazy and end up in the water of all places? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, in the water. Yeah, and what was he doing laying with her when she's dead?
Knowing that she didn't want him laying with her when she was alive. Mm-hmm. Like, how much do you really love her if you're going to disrespect everything? See, okay, so Shelly just said gas station receipt said $25. So she basically put enough in there to be able to get all the way back home if she wanted to.
Right.
For what?
And if you know
this was her intention.
Yeah, and if you know you're going that far, why didn't you fill up when you left?
And I know that, like, there's another person apparently. Have you seen the video that Olivia put up of the swamp area? with like the purple memorial in it or whatever. She
No.
apparently got brought out there by somebody who knows the fisherman that also saw Mica that day. And the
Shit.
dude and his mom walked Olivia to the area where the body was apparently found. And there's like this purple wreath of flowers. It's on her channel. It's only like a 4-minute long video, but she shows you the whole area, including like the boat that's apparently in the story of the guy like going up the area to the water or whatever, the way he found her apparently. I don't know, but it shows all of that stuff. But it's just, it's very strange because he's like, well, she apparently went down here to the river area first, but there was just too many people, so she walked somewhere else. But in my mind, I'm like, or was she looking for someone and that person wasn't where she was originally looking, and that's why she walked somewhere else? Because just because she ended up in this little secluded area doesn't mean that she went there with the intention of doing it herself. She could have been meeting someone.
She could have been meeting someone. That's a way to put it. She could have been being followed. She
Or
could
that,
have been scared. I don't know. But like I said, you know, when you have a mob mentality and you have a group mentality of people that you all have to believe one way, and then you switch it up and you're like, I don't think it's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then they come unglued. She was the one that was going against the grain.
Charles Randall fired Miller as Solid Rock's pastor, but Randall disputed that during a recent sermon, saying, quote, "I have released him from ministerial functions for a minute to get some healing and some counseling and some guidance. You can't go through these things like this and just step right back on the same day." Family and friends have started using the hashtag Justice for Mica. Now, it's our understanding Mica's sister Sierra, who we're going to be speaking with in a minute, has filed a legal claim against both Miller and the church in connection with Mica's death. Court documents filed in Horry County Family Court accuse Solid Rock Church of colluding and conspiring with John Paul to defraud and deprive Mica. The Daily Mail also reported that Mica contacted the Myrtle Beach Police Department on April 8th, just weeks before her death, to report that she had seen a lewd photo of herself in a Facebook group and believed her estranged husband, John Paul Miller, had posted it.
Of course she did.
Mm-hmm.
She knew who took the photo. She knew where she was.
He admitted it. He admitted it in an apology. Mm-hmm.
He was proud of degrading her. He was proud of making her feel less than what she was.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
how he got his gratification. He's a
Yep.
sick freak.
He is a sick freak. And just my personal opinion, I think that she got the pew-pew in order to protect herself. Because she actually was taking lessons to learn how to shoot it.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, you don't need lessons to learn how to shoot your damn self.
Well, they make it sound from like talking to other people that there's been a weapon involved in this relationship, like pretty much the entire time. Like even years ago, he apparently had told some older man that they knew from the church that she had bought one and was in the backyard with it, and he was worried that she got it to like do something to him. And he was like, well, I don't know what's going on in your house to make you think like that. So like apparently her having a weapon for protection has been like a constant. That's telling. That's horribly telling.
It's all horribly telling. Grit said JP's lawyer, Tom Winslow, does live or have property 7 miles up the river from where Mica was found. What if she was meeting him to sign the divorce papers under false pretenses? Damn, I never thought about that.
That's insane. I mean, I did hear something about the lawyer having property over there. I mean, look, if I don't know how JP's behavior is, it does seem like he constantly wants to be like the center of attention, right? Like he has to be the center of attention. That's why whenever we hear about his like weird behaviors, like at the time of this, at the ball game and that at Olive Garden the night before, and how he was like really loud and seemed like super celebratory in behavior and stuff like that. Like, is that how he always is? Or was he really purposely trying to be seen by people because he knew he needed to be seen by people? You know what I mean? That's my biggest question. Like, is it normal behavior for him? Like it seems like it would be just by looking at the way he acts at the church. Or was he really doing that because he really needed strangers to remember seeing him away from her?
The fake crying.
All of it.
He always has to stand out in a crowd. And I hate to tell him, with those teeth and that haircut, he stands out anyway. No one's going to forget that face.
Yeah, that's another thing, bro. Like he is not, at least not to me, he's not attractive. There's there's quite a few things about him besides his horrible personality that just he's not physically attractive. So it's really just insane to me that like there's like 4 women involved in this entire thing, right? Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I think there's actually more.
And yeah, just like out here now, but there's definitely more. Oh yeah, there's more.
And he would pout. He would pout like a little baby sitting in a shitty diaper every time she would perform on stage because everyone loved it. They loved her voice. They loved her energy, but it wasn't about him.
Yeah.
I mean, as a couple, when one light is brighter, you stand back and you applaud. You encourage it. You want each other to be the best you can be.
You're supposed to anyway, yeah.
But he couldn't stand it. He wanted some hot-looking woman that loves Jesus and doesn't talk is what he wants.
Well, after her death, Miller admitted that he did post the photo. In a letter obtained by News Nation, seemingly addressed to Mica, it reads, quote, "I'm sorry for putting a picture of you on the internet. It was for less than 1 hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you were telling everyone horrible, intimate details of my past sin, and I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that." Mica had also reported back in March that she found a tracking device on her car at least twice and said that John Paul had her involuntarily committed to a hospital and stole her car while she was gone.
I want to know how you get someone involuntarily committed. Not
That's
that
the
I'm.
part I want to know. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know how that would even work?
I want to know the circumstances, period, because why did the situation end up with her car being in a Walmart parking lot while she was institutionalized? Like, what was the actual situation?
Mm-hmm.
There's no details out at all about that?
Not that I've seen. And I mean, obviously, those records are going to be sealed, but you can't just say someone's crazy and they take them off. You can't even say they threatened to do something to themselves. All they have to say is no.
Yeah, you have to have proof, right? Proof of something.
So who does he know that got her involuntarily committed? Now, some people say she gave him permission. Well, that's not involuntary.
Yeah, and her sisters keep repeating the word involuntary. But then again, she was only in there for like 2 days. And I feel like that's not enough. Like, if she was really a danger of any sort, wouldn't they have like kept her longer than from the 8th to the 10th? Like, that's not even really a whole 2 days because she got in on the 8th and was let out on the 10th.
I mean, and if he had a power of attorney over her, that wouldn't be involuntary. I have to look more at this because I don't like the phrasing at all, and it's creepy.
Well, they said there was a healthcare POA.
Well, a healthcare POA is totally different than saying someone needs to go be committed.
Well, that's the that Kyler person was talking about, that there was one that it was apparently signed in like December of 22, which is interesting considering we're being told she went to leave him in January of 23, but that it wasn't actually filed until March 20th, which is actually the same time that they have on camera his truck being at her apartment. And then, everything happened after that part, but that still doesn't make sense because her involuntary stay was apparently in February. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. There has to be like a scenario, and I'm just surprised like her sisters haven't come out and mentioned anything yet. Like she would have told them at some point, right? I would assume. I don't know.
It's all sketch. And I want to know, what in the hell is this church even doing, having healthcare proxies available at their church so that people in the church can make medical decisions for their congregation? I don't know about you, But when I go to church, I hit the coffee bar, say hi to a few people, sing, listen, go to Quick Trip after, get some beer, and go home and talk about service.
That's hilarious. No, so you mean the church actually has forms for people in the church to sign their like medical rights over to the church to make decisions?
There's like actually one certain person. Actually, there's several. But I mean, come on.
No, that's weird.
Nobody in the church should have a healthcare proxy on just someone they go to church with. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's odd. I don't like that.
I don't like any of it.
Statement, John Paul Miller's lawyer, Russell Long, said, quote, "It has come to light that Mica Miller struggled with mental illness, specifically bipolar disorder, which when not properly managed led to paranoid episodes and self-destructive behavior. Some reports made by her in the recent past are nonsensical." He also added that a ruling of suicide by law enforcement completely exonerates Pastor Miller of any wrongdoing. Well, I am joined right now by Mica's father, Michael Francis. Thank you so much for coming on. And before we even get started, I just have to say I am so sorry for your loss, your family's loss. And as I mentioned to you before we started recording, I know this can't be easy talking about this and having this amplified and everybody speaking about it. So I know this must be a very difficult time. So my heart goes out to you and your family, and really appreciate you taking the time to come here and talk a little bit more about it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start off. How are you and the family doing right now?
We're struggling. You know, we're more united than ever as a family. You know, this is something that has really caused us to drop any little petty arguments or something and focus on what's important at this moment. So, you know, we have grieved off and on, but we've also been in fight mode off and on as far as legally and, you know, and speaking out for Mica.
Let's talk about that because, I want to be very clear here. Despite the findings from law enforcement that Mica had died by her own hand, that the sheriff's office saying John Paul was not in Robeson County when Mica died, do you believe there is more to the story, correct?
Yes, it's there's a lot of details that they did not cover, and because it was equivalent in their eyes to previous self-inflicted wounds, I believe the law allows them to do less work. It does not prevent them from doing more work. And since there were multiple shell casings found and a live round found, it already didn't make much sense. So it would.
Okay, I'm no ballistics expert, but a live round and multiple casings. Now, how many times would you have to try? You don't have to be an expert marksman to cause harm to yourself with that weapon. Anyone seen a problem with this?
Well, I mean, I have questions. Because Home Dude said he only heard one gunshot, didn't he?
One.
So, I mean, that is kind of like an out in the middle of nowhere secluded area. I mean, are they saying that they've proven that those rounds match her weapon? Because they could be from anywhere, honestly. They could be from anything. I mean, it's just like in the Delphi thing, we're finding out now that the bullet that was found at the scene was like 2 inches underground. So that doesn't even make any logical sense for it to have happened that
don't get me going on that one. That one's pissing me off.
There's a lot. But
So-
there's no, have they said anything about if they've matched these to the weapon that they're claiming that she bought that day? Because if not, then they're not even.
Any ballistics report. I think about the Alana Raffield case, which is
I don't know
still,
that one.
it's I have a playlist about it,
Oh,
and they ruled it as an S. We know what S means on here. Well, there's no way it could have been.
Or like, what's the other one? What's her name? Multiple wounds to the back, and they're saying that it was an S. Ellen Greenberg, is that it?
I believe that's the name.
Yeah.
And sometimes a second autopsy, especially a forensic pathologist, needs to be done because medical examiners are real busy. Okay?
Well,
they're really busy, and sometimes they will assess. Now, mind you, they're just talking to their microphone. I'm not saying they don't do important work. And they run them through there like the self-checkout at the Walmart. And they go off what the police have said. Okay, so you see a gunshot wound to someone's, let's say, I'm just going to go ahead and say their wrist. And they died of a wrist complication because I can't get too graphic on here. They see the police report, they go through it, and they say, oh, died of the gunshot wound to the wrist. Well, someone scratches their head and says, can't be, because at the scene we found this, 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 and this, and this. And then they have someone else read the reports over in conjunction with what the investigation has thus far, or they do a second autopsy with the forensic pathologist. Another reason why I'm so against when there is foul play possible cremation.
Yeah, was that confirmed? Because I know that what we were told is that like he wouldn't let her family go in and see her unless they signed like cremation permission paperwork. But do we know if that was like for sure? Like, did they actually cremate her? Because we're hearing there was no autopsy at all. They didn't do any gun residue test on her hands at all, and they did not test for toxicology, which even if they're trying to say that she like did this to herself and there was nothing else involved, shouldn't they at least have done toxicology to make sure if she was on her medications or not?
I would
Like,
think.
They didn't do any of that according to the family.
I would think. Many people in chat are saying, yeah, she was cremated. And
so there's no way to even go back and do anything now because none of those tests were done. So they didn't even swipe. They're saying they didn't even do the test on her hands to prove that she's the one who pulled it.
And my question is, for a church that was so against cremation, against it, why was it okay for her? Why was it okay for Mica to be cremated when they have had sermons about how horrible it is to cremate, but it was okay for her?
It's not about money either because it's cremation's cheaper. He had plenty of money to do whatever he would have needed to do.
I think we know why, because he was scared of the second autopsy, or somebody was.
Yeah.
Seemed that they would automatically do a complete toxicology, not just blood alcohol, and a complete autopsy, which they did not do. And we're just devastated that they didn't because John Paul rushed the cremation process. During the briefing, we pressed pretty hard for more information and such, and the sheriff's office was trying to compress the briefing for us, and then they gave us a flash drive. It doesn't sound like Mica during the 911 call. She's so slow and so, but then later there are, I haven't even heard them myself, honestly. I have someone who's going through all that for me and filtering the information because otherwise, the more information I get that sounds off, the more furious I get, and I need to be able to focus and control my emotions. But there was screaming going on and such, and that's not something indicative of a self-inflicted. Sounds like a fight.
It does sound to me too, and I also want to know statistically. And statistics do mean something. It is slim to none that a woman uses a violent weapon to check out. It is extremely rare.
What is he saying right here? Is he saying that they have more recording of more 911 call that the family was given on a USB drive where they're screaming?
Yeah, hang on.
Otherwise, the more information I get that sounds off, the more furious I get, and I need to be able to focus and control my emotions. So, but there was screaming going on and such, and that's not something indicative of a self-inflicted. You know, that's sounds like a fight.
Okay,
What
let's.
the shit?
Yep, that's what it sounds like to me. Sketch. So, you have screaming going on.
And the cops know this, and they're still saying that it's self-inflicted. Knowing that there's screaming going on in the background of more. So does that mean that there was like more to the call that was released, or are they claiming this is a second call that was called in? Because I don't understand. I'm so confused. I don't.
Oh, I'm beyond confused. I mean,
know.
it's very telling when we have all the information. And the fisherman, all he said was he heard screaming or a scream.
I don't remember him saying anything about screaming. I heard him saying he heard like crying for like a good 2 to 3 minutes, and then he heard the noise from the weapon.
Jinbug said, I thought I heard in one of the 911 calls, a woman's voice says no. I heard that as well, but I haven't heard the calls, so I can't say.
I haven't either. I've only heard the one that was released, like where she's all calm and weird.
Well, it sounds to me like she wasn't alone. I think she called 911. I mean, she was asking, can you see my location?
My brain's everywhere now.
Mine too.
And with the bruising on her hands and on her arm, scratches on her hands, indicating defensive wounds. So very frustrating.
When you say defensive wounds, is that something that was told to you by a medical professional when you talked about multiple casings there? Where did you get this information? And when you brought this information to law enforcement or brought it or mentioned to them, what did they say?
Okay, as far as finding out, the park ranger took us back to the scene and pointed out, here's where she would have been standing. Here's where the shell casings and the live round were, which also doesn't make sense. She knew how to use a weapon. She got the weapon for self-protection. She told me.
She got the weapon for self-protection. She told people she got it for self-protection. She took classes on how to use the weapon, whether she took 1, 2, or 3. I don't know. I do wonder about the new girlfriend, because women can be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about the live round there. I want to know about the other casings. I want to know how she wound up in the damn water.
Have we seen timestamps of the pawn shop stuff? Because I know that's something that the Kyler person was talking about, is that there was no timestamps on the pawn shop photos that were released with the Robeson County Police Report or whatever the statement.
No, they have not. As far as I know, they haven't released that to us, but I do have some questions about the call. So the call is before 3 o'clock Eastern time. Obviously, it's Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
The cries were heard at 4 o'clock. So what was she doing? Having a picnic?
The cries were heard after? Because I heard that they didn't apparently put eyes on her body in the water until like 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But if she was like right freaking there, why would it take 4 hours for them to find her if she was like right by her stuff? Like that's four hours to find you, and like that just doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, she makes the call a little before 3.
Yeah.
The cries are heard at 4 o'clock.
That's weird.
I mean, days beforehand, Dad, I really feel like I need a weapon for protection. And she knows how to use it. She's qualified. She's been through training. She's not going to charge the weapon and eject a live round. She already knows the first rule of gun, use is knowing the condition of the gun. So we got the information about the shells. I did it directly from the park ranger. And then when we brought that up to law enforcement, they just said, well, they had no answer. They really just had no answer why, any kind of, not even speculation. They didn't even say, well, she probably did this, probably did that. They just said, this is what we have. And there is what would be an apparent bullet hole in a tree, which I have a picture of. And they just didn't seem to put the effort forth. So we're very disappointed in that.
And the defensive wounds, was that from the park ranger too, or?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we looked at her hands during the viewing. We took pictures of her from the viewing. It was the worst day of my life. And she had scratches on her arms on her hand. And the coroner in training had the chief coroner with her, but she spoke out and said, well, maybe that's from when they retrieved her from the water. And I said, okay, of course, maybe. Was there blood in those scratches and such? They had no answer. Very disappointing. So I basically said the scratches indicate some type of scuffle or something, because the area where she was, there was no trees or anything anyway. There was no trees in the water. There was nothing there that would have scratched her hands the way they were. I mean, like this. So, it showed, it indicated that there was, some type of pressure. That's where the bruise was. And just,
Well, Michael, here's the thing. And I hate to ask you this, and I know it must be difficult to revisit it, but when you mentioned the 911 phone call, when that came out, I think a lot of people who were suspecting there might be something there, they were convinced that that was the end of the story. When you mentioned that 911 phone call, you said there's something about the way that Mica sounded on the phone that sounded odd to you. What do you mean by
absolutely.
that?
Very slow speech. She's a very happy-go-lucky, excitable person. And it was too slow. It was very slow. It was metered. It could have been done with an AI type of previous recordings where somebody would have had those words from her previously, or, whatever. And so it just doesn't make sense that he wouldn't go up there.
Do you have a theory as to what happened? Because authorities are saying, they crossed out his alibi of where he was. Do you have a theory as to what happened? And again, I know this is sensitive, so if you don't want to share it, I understand. But do you have a theory as to what you believe happened to your daughter?
Okay, well, I'll share what we spoke to about with the authorities, the sheriff in North Carolina. Also, as far as with his location, we've seen pictures of his truck. It had dark windows. Was it even him in there? Where's pictures of him physically there? We haven't seen those. They have not been produced. If someone else has them, we would like to see them to prove that he was there, because otherwise it could be anybody in that truck. So the theory would be that because she had multiple tracking devices put on her car previously, that she was followed out to the park or forced to go out to the park, and they either follow her out there, or there's no reason for her to go out there. That's the main point as well. She's never been out there. We don't go up there. It's not a family spot. And she was off the trail enough into a park ranger only area that nobody knows about. And so the theory would be that she it was either tracked, and then they said, well, we didn't find a tracking device. Well, they could have removed it at the park. When the car was at the park, and then it was collected by the authorities, they didn't check for a tracker, which blew my mind. They said, oh, we have all the evidence and everything. We asked them, was there a tracker on her car? And they said, well, we didn't check. And we were flabbergasted. This happened over and over during that interview. Why didn't
I'm so sick of these open and shut S cases. And you know what I mean by S.
Yeah.
They need to be thoroughly investigated. Preacher's wife in Texas, Carrie Baker. the big S. She was depressed, didn't like her weight, postpartum, you name it. Well, it took a tip from Preacher Man's girlfriend to say, no, he drugged her and put a pillow on her face.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't hear about that either. There's so
Yeah,
many stories.
look up Matt and Carrie Baker. It's crazy. Grit said one spent case, one unspent case. No splash was heard. Now, I'm not saying Micah's a fat girl or anything, but a body goes in the water, you're going to hear a splash, especially if you're in the same damn water fishing.
Well, I don't know. If she's using a weapon that would make like a really loud noise and she's already standing in the water, maybe you really wouldn't hear the water too much. Because I don't know, the way that they put the memorial thing, like where they put the purple memorial thing in the water, it really makes it look as if she would have like walked out. It looked biblical. That's all I'm gonna say. For someone who's not religious, okay, I look at the scene and I know the situation and I know the religious aspect of it, and I'm like, damn, this looks really biblical. Like just where it's at. It's really weird. It's like she walked out into the water almost like she was cleansing herself. You know what I mean? Like spiritually cleansing herself. If that would have been the case for that, is what it looks like. It's very strange. So I just don't know if you would have heard the splash because it looks like she would have been like standing like maybe waist deep. And I think that maybe the sound from the weapon would have maybe made the water irrelevant noise-wise.
Okay, that makes more sense. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, just how it looks.
We know that there was 3 or 4 trackers put on her vehicles. Why wouldn't you check to see if she was followed? They said, oh, there's no cameras, but we know she wasn't followed. Her car is just out here. And I said, well, there's no trackers. They said no tracker. I said, well, they could have removed it after they did the deed. So then Micah's mother, Angelita, she said, pretend this is Micah's hand. And she asked me, grab this hand. And then she pulled it up, and said, it looks like someone squeezed her hand and raised it up and shot. And there are defensive wounds from it and such. And that's the general idea of our theory, that somebody crushed her hand to hold the gun up to her head while she's fighting. Either them or someone else held her other hand or her other arm back because there's bruising on it from squeezing. And they forced it to look like that was self-inflicted. And a couple of rounds went off during the scuffle. One ejected was live, and then it finally happened.
Okay, the question is, who got her to call 911, and how did the gun, the pew-pew, develop fins to swim out of the water onto the bank?
Oh, I thought it was found in the water. I thought the Robeson County report that they put on Facebook, their statement said it was in the water by her body.
Well, I've heard 2 different things. I've heard from the local news in Myrtle Beach that the pew-pew was found up on the bank.
See, that doesn't make sense. That's the opposite of what the thing says. But then again, I don't really trust. Ever since Kyler started talking about that Operation Tarnished Badge thing, I just really don't really trust anything these cops are saying, especially knowing they didn't do anything test-wise. I just can't trust.
Well, and I honestly don't trust a lot of the news because you don't know who that hasn't had enough coffee, and they're transcribing what they've heard from a police report or whatever. It's easy; it takes one word to switch up the facts.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take up for this POS at all or whatever, but the cop that took the police report did say, that this was going on since Mica was 10 years old, when in reality she was mixed up, and that was a cop that made a mistake on a report. So that's a big deal.
Huge deal, because her sister had to correct it and said no.
Yeah.
No. Which, obviously 10 years old is really bad, but so is 14 and 15 in my book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, some people don't seem to think so. On the show yesterday, I pointed out that I think that the relationship, how it started between Seth Rogers and Katie Proudfoot, is inappropriate.
Oh, yes. No, you are correct, Miss Ma'am, because I know the story of that and I know that it is a factual fact. It is disgusting. It's inappropriate. Since he knew her as a minor, she should have been off limits to him. They should never have had a child. Yes, no, ma'am. I don't care about the flack you got. Whoever gave you that flack was wrong. You are correct. It is completely inappropriate. Completely.
Well, I mean, I've gotten emails from people saying, well, my husband's 12 years older than me. I'm like, you're 40.
Right, like it doesn't matter if you were an adult. My mom was 18 when she met my father. He was 33 years old. She was 18, living on her own, had a job, was in beauty school, was an adult, and he met her at 33 and they got married. Okay, that's weird enough as it is, but she was an adult living on her own as an adult. She wasn't a 14-year-old child, and my dad was not married and had children like Mr. OJP here. So people that are okay with those types of circumstances, all you need to do is just feel bad for them, because be grateful you don't live with that sort of mentality, because no,
That's all I could say.
Yeah, you are correct in thinking that was a completely inappropriate relationship.
The way they would want it to happen, and then dumped her in the water, probably 40 meters away from where the shell casings in the gun was found. The water doesn't flow there. It's a slough. It's still. It just sinks. And it actually flows when it sinks, when it recesses, it goes the other direction from where she was found. So her body, even if it was put in the water right there, would not have flowed the direction where she was found. It would flow the other way. So it would be possible that the incident occurred right there, and the shell casings, and then the gun was dumped in the water right there. And then she was carried farther 40 meters back into a little bit more secluded area where she was found.
So Sierra Francis now joins the conversation. This is Mica's sister. Sierra, thank you so much for coming on. As I told your father, I just want to say again, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for what you and your family are going through. Our hearts go out to you guys. And again, really appreciate you taking the time and being so generous with your time to come on and talk a little bit more about this. So I've already spoken to your father a lot about what you guys believe might have happened here. I want to talk to you about this legal claim that you have filed against Mr. Miller and the church. Walk us through what that claim is and what you're hoping to get from that.
As far as the legal side of things, I don't have perfect details of everything. I'm just trying to pick up where Mica left off and make sure that justice is served and that we are able to remain over her estate and make sure that it is used or allotted in the way that she would have wanted it to.
Do you know anything about the FBI being a part of this investigation now? Were you told anything about that, what they might be looking into?
So we are aware that Robeson County did come out and say that the FBI is involved, but as far as what they're investigating and the extent of their involvement, the family's not sure.
Okay. I wanted to ask you this, both of you this. So look, the main argument, and it's being put forward by Mr. Miller, and what we've seen is Mica, they say, had suffered from mental illness. Do you know anything about that? Anything you could tell us about that? Because one of the things that Mr. Miller has said is he had this power of attorney set up for that reason. What can you tell us about what Mica might have been going through?
So before Mica married John Paul, she had no signs, no history, no indications of mental illness at all.
And why did she presumably agree to a power of attorney? Usually the person who sets up would have to agree to it and sign to it.
He had every way to control her, and he was very good at manipulating the situation.
And she thought that he would be doing the right thing. And she wanted to trust that Mr. Miller Jr. was actually doing the right thing for them, until she got away from him and had more time, when she spent more time with us, to peel off some of those layers and realize what was going on. And then she started becoming herself again and got a job and everything else, and was doing fine, and was happy-go-lucky self again, excited about the future, and which is something he did not like. Just very terrible.
There are these allegations that he groomed her. What do we mean by that?
He had his sights set on her from a very young age. I would guess probably 14 years old, 14 or 15 when we first.
Easy. I'll answer this. Easy. You find a young child, 12, 13, 14, 15, hell, I mean, I'll give you 16 or 17, and you're much older. You've been out in the world. You've had a job. You have a job. You drive a car. You can buy beer. The world is your oyster. And you take a shining to a young, vulnerable mind. It doesn't take long to manipulate this mind. The question is, what was vulnerable about Mica at that age?
Yeah, that's my question too. And then I also want to touch on the fact that now we're hearing that her ex-husband was best friends. Like that's what they're claiming. Like every report that I have read says that Mica's ex-husband and JP were best friends. Okay, but we need to also step back and think about that too, because home dude was Mica's age, young as hell. Okay, so we're saying that at this point JP would have been like what, in his late 30s, right? So his best friend's a teenage boy. So he's grooming more than just girls, is what it sounds like to me.
And it also comes down to he's going to win at any cost.
Yeah,
I would love to know more about his first marriage, because we know that he took the children from her, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, that's also really insane, especially now that she's coming out and like helping Mica's family and saying all kind of stuff, all kind of insane stuff. And if she has documented proof at this point that he admitted to the entire congregation his like encounters with underage girls, then how was he allowed to keep children if she's got documented proof of him admitting those things? I don't understand that.
I don't get it either. And when you see, again, you have a young girl in your home, going through puberty, putting on acne cream, wanting to go to the mall, on the phone with her friends. And this older man suddenly puts her under his wing. You got a problem.
Yeah.
It's not like this was like a youth group situation and he would come in and speak to the youth and they'd go on a ski trip all together, for spring break.
The sister makes it sound as if he was constantly blowing up Mica's phone as a child. Like, that's insane. You have a wife and children, and you got enough time to literally be classified as blowing up a teenage girl's phone. That's pathetic.
It's sick and it's depraved.
Came to the church. And he made sure that he kept her exactly where he wanted her to the point of who she married, what job she picked up after she was, 18. He got her married, and then he made her his secretary and his babysitter and his let's go to lunch person, and oh, you're so beautiful.
And then
so they just admitted to knowing that marriage was set up by him?
Yeah, basically. And she also babysat for him.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that she was the babysitter, but now they're even saying, oh, it's even him that orchestrated the fact that she married this first guy to begin with. What the shit?
Like you said earlier in the show, what groomer sets up his prey with someone else? Here's the whole thing. It's to take the heat off of him.
I am just, wow.
So then he tells Home Skillet, step aside. I've been waiting on her to be the legal age. Hell, he married them.
I know, but that's what's creepy, because this kid was also Mica's age. Like, they are the same age. And he was saying that this dude was his best friend, and he is a grown-ass man. Why is your best friend a teenage boy?
Grooming.
And then to find out that the family knew that it's set up. Like, this is so creepy. Oh, this is just creepier. This is creepier. This girl was literally failed on every level possible ever. This is just gross.
Like Jen says, she says to keep her close. So he's got homeboy. You're going to marry her. It's for Jesus. It's for the church. I'm going to officiate it. We're going to go to JCPenney and we're going to get some teal prom dresses and some teal shirts. We're going to put some lights up in the arch. We're going to sing some songs. You're married. And once it's appropriate for me to marry her, you're going to hand her off.
But see, and that's the crazy part, though. It still wasn't even appropriate. He was still married whenever it became public knowledge of their affair.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to think anymore. This is just so much. This is so much.
Lisa said, why didn't her parents put a stop to this when she was... And they're all saying that marriage between her and the first guy was, as JP said, preordained. It was put together.
Where is he?
Yeah, it was put together by God.
Where's homeboy at? Where's ex-husband at? Does anybody know? I know he's not talking, but does anybody know where he's at?
I think he's still in Myrtle Beach. But they better keep eyes on Preacher Man because he is a flight risk.
Oh yeah, for sure. They have a plane, bro.
Yeah.
And when she was married, same thing. Best friends with her husband, her previous husband, and manipulated the situation where he could have him doing something because he was his right-hand man and then spend time with Mica alone, which is very inappropriate.
And to be clear about that, are you alleging that he engaged in criminal contact with Mica? And if so, again, my understanding is there's no time bar in South Carolina to bring charges. Is this something that you're speaking with about authorities with?
Holy shit.
I don't think he physically had a relationship with her until after she had already been married to Jeremy.
I wanted to ask you about something else. And this goes back to that idea of why he says, and correct me if I'm wrong, why he says he had to set up the power of attorney. He was concerned about whether Mica would be taking money, because there was this allegation that Mica was a suspect in the theft of $1,200 in donations for the Solid Rock, this missionary efforts. I understand you want to clear the record up on that.
That was investigated. I have seen, police excerpts on that, and from what I've seen, to best of my knowledge, it said that was just a domestic dispute, and there was no criminal charges to be filed.
Okay, and also, as far as the amount that was mentioned, Mica was having trouble with the websites releasing the money to her from the donations,
such as Venmo or stuff like that.
Right. They were holding on to those funds, as they do, for like the 3-day period or whatever, gaining interest. And so during that period where the money didn't show up yet, he was accusing her of stealing that money. And then after the fact, after she's passed, all the money showed back in except 1 penny.
Not to mention that money wasn't money that was donated and she was stealing it. This money was, hey, I've put $600 out of my pocket with the intention of, hey, I will be reimbursed from this, because that's what she was told. Hey, spend your $600 to purchase, all the donuts that you're using for fundraising. It's a charity. We'll make sure we reimburse you. So it's not even stealing. It's reimbursement for what she's already put into.
Right.
And before I let you go, I have to ask you about this letter that came out that he had seemingly apologized to Mica for what he said was releasing a nude photograph of her on the internet. What was your reaction to that letter?
He's a faker.
Yeah.
He likes to band-aid everything so he can still control and manipulate people.
I told him straight up, because of his behavior before, okay, now go ahead and go cry in front of your church and apologize like you always do. Mm-hmm. And he didn't during the sermon and his bombshell drop at the last point. He didn't do his fake sniveling, crying, fake stuff. He just, until later, but he would, numerous times, he would go in front of the church and say, I'm sorry, I did this and I did that. I'm sorry. If you don't want me to be the pastor, I'll leave. And they would say, oh, no, you do such a great job. And then it would happen again and again
Right.
And if they did stand up against him, he would threaten them with removing them from the church, or he would just straight out remove them in front of everybody. And then later in sermons said, "Oh, well, they just left for no reason. I don't know why they left."
Michael, Sierra,
Anything that comes out of his mouth, it's all backwards.
well, Michael, Sierra, here's what I wanted to ask you. This is going to be an ongoing discussion, and I was hoping, and first of all, thank you for being so.
Oh, it's going to be an ongoing discussion, and I could just imagine him up there saying, "Oh, like Jimmy Swaggart, oh, I failed you." And there's a group of people, not one person has the balls to stand up and say, "Yeah, we have." They sit there and go, "Oh, no, you do a great job. Oh, no, we love you. Come on, you're one of us. Jesus loves you." It's gross. And he's a pipsqueak. He is nothing but, he's a controller. He's maniacal. He's manipulative. He learned well from his daddy. I'll give him that much. And this dude is a millionaire. And this is off of conning people, in my opinion. Some of these preachers become rich. Jesus died poor.
Yeah, he's gross.
He is. Well, you guys, I want to thank you so much for being here today, and a huge round of applause to our friend Jules with True Crime Reactions. Can someone please put her link in here, because I want everyone to subscribe. And it definitely says a lot that, his first wife spoke about while he was attracted to girls under the age of 16.
Yeah. And how that's just like, just wash right over it like it doesn't exist. I don't understand. Oh my God. These are the kind of things that literally melt my brain. I just don't get it.
That's called a pedophile.
Yeah.
That is called a pedophile. And I'm glad so many states are adopting the bill that if you cross that line, you can't be rehabilitated. Well, I tell you what, we're probably going to get rehabilitated this afternoon, because I'm going to get a hold of Kat and whoever else wants to come in, and we're going to do a members live. Now, with this lightning storm, if for some reason I can't. But we're definitely going to do it. You guys are the absolute best. Again, big round of applause to our great friend Jules, True Crime Reactions. I know some people say, "Oh, this creator, that creator." Some of us are actually friends.
Yep. Sure are.
Who'd have thunk it? Isn't it crazy?
Who'd have thunk it?
All right, you guys, I will see you back here shortly. If I don't see you back here shortly, then I will see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You guys are the absolute best. Thanks for being the best.
Bye, guys.
And community on these filthy YouTube streets. We're out, Jules.
Bye.